Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and congratulations to you both. Counselor, Ms. Chung, do you believe in racial quotas?
Senator, if I were faced with a question regarding racial quotas, I would carefully consider the binding Supreme Court precedent and Third Circuit precedent.
Yes, ma'am, excuse me if interrupting, but that's not what I'm asking. Let me stipulate that you will follow. I'll stipulate this for all my questions to each of you, that you will follow precedent. What I'm asking is about your beliefs. Do you believe in racial quotas?
Sir, if I were faced with that question, I believe the Supreme Court has ruled that in the context, for instance,
I know what the court's ruled. We both do. I'm just asking your personal beliefs. Do you believe in racial quotas?
Sir, I want to be very careful since I am a judicial nominee. I certainly wouldn't want to say something that would forecast for any future litigant how they thought I would rule.
I don't see the problem in you telling us your beliefs. I'm going to ask you one more time. Do you believe in racial quotas?
I'm sorry, Senator. Again, because I am a judicial nominee,
You're not going to answer me?
It would not be prudent for me to offer an opinion on it.
All right. Do you believe, once again, I'll stipulate that you're going to follow precedent. Do you believe that abortion is an issue that should be decided by the states?
In the recent ruling in Dobbs, the Supreme Court did say that the question of abortion has been returned to the people and their elected representatives.
But I know, and I'll stipulate that you'll follow Dobbs. But do you believe that abortion is an issue that should be decided by the states? I'm trying to understand what you believe.
Well, certainly under Dobbs, returning that issue to the people and their elected representatives does put it within the realm of the states.
Okay. Do you believe that that's the right decision?
Senator, I would not hesitate to apply Dobbs if I were faced with that.
Once again, maybe I'm not being clear. I'm sorry. I'm asking what you believe. Do you believe that abortion should be decided by the states as opposed to the federal government?
Senator, again, because I am a judicial nominee.
You're not going to answer?
I don't believe it would be prudent to offer an opinion that would allow future litigants to think they could forecast.
Do you believe that prosecutors should take it upon themselves to decide not to prosecute an entire class of crimes, even though that the legislative body in that particular instance has designated the behavior as a crime?
Well, in my approximately or almost 2 decades as a prosecutor and now as United States Attorney, I have not found occasion to completely rule out
I'm asking
a
what
line
you
of
believe,
prosecution.
Counselor. I'm asking what you believe.
Well, as a prosecutor and as a United States Attorney, I believe that each investigation and matter should be determined.
But do you believe a prosecutor should decide we both know what we're talking about. Do you believe that a prosecutor should take it upon themselves or himself or herself to say, I don't care what the legislature says, I'm not going to prosecute any shoplifting of stealing of any goods if it's less than $950. Do you agree with that or not?
Well, I would hope that my record as a prosecutor and United States Attorney speaks to that question. I have not found occasion to do that.
I'm giving you a chance right now to speak to it. Tell me what you believe. Do you believe, I just gave you the example, do you believe that's a good thing or a bad thing?
I have not found occasion to rule out an entire line of prosecution.
Okay, but if someone did, do you agree with it or disagree with it? I don't think I'm being obtuse here. Just answer my question if you would. And if you're not, just tell me so I can move to the judge.
Senator, I have not found a reason to do that in my own practice. I have only considered...
Is that because you disagree with it?
Well, I have found that whether or not something reaches a federal interest for prosecution is something that has to be determined on an individual case.
You're not going to answer me, and I really regret that. Let me ask you, Judge, in the time I have left, you wrote a report along with your colleagues regarding the bar admission in Delaware, and you said, quote, the bar exam likely serves as a barrier to the racial and ethnic diversity of attorneys in Delaware. Did you say that?
Thank you for the question, Senator. No, my colleagues and I did not write that report. That is a report that was written and delivered to the Supreme Court.
Did you vote on the report?
No, I did not vote on the report.
Do you disagree with that statement?
Will you read the statement again, Senator?
Sure. Quote, the bar exam likely serves as a barrier to the racial and ethnic diversity of attorneys in Delaware.
Thank you for reading the quote again.
You're welcome.
I believe that that's a question that needs to be analyzed and studied, and I have not studied.
But you were chairman of the committee, and your staff wrote this report.
So it was, if I may explain, it was.
Okay. Yeah, but I don't have much time.
Well, it was not my staff, so no, I
Okay.
wouldn't say my staff wrote that report.
Fair enough, Judge. Do you agree, quote, that the Delaware bar exam serves as a barrier to the racial and ethnic diversity of attorneys in Delaware?
Senator, I believe that that is a complicated, complex question that requires analysis that I have not done.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Kennedy. I want to clarify this because you've had three people ask questions about it. I think I get the answer. Apparently, it's still in doubt to some. We're talking about recommendations made by a committee to you. Is that correct?
That's correct.
These are not recommendations that you personally wrote or were involved in writing?
That's correct.
You did not vote for or against those recommendations?
That's correct.
Some other body is now deciding if there's any action to be taken?
The Supreme Court is considering what to do with the recommendations.
That's pretty clear, isn't it? And the questions that have been asked over and over again suggest otherwise, and you've said over and over again just what I said. So I think, is there anything more you want to say on the subject to make sure it's clear?
Thank you for the chance to clarify, Chairman. What happened is that there was a committee that was created to analyze diversity in Delaware. In the bar, that committee was purposefully made up of a large group of people who have an interest in the issue to consider the issue. The Supreme Court wanted to get people's honest views about what the recommendations might be. So we did not identify, exclude, tell people what they should think or make as recommendations. We accepted the recommendations that were provided to us. And now the Supreme Court is considering which recommendations it will and will not take and implement.
Mr. Chairman.
Certainly, Senator Kennedy.
Mr. Chairman, I think you mischaracterized my questions.
Oh, no, sir, I wasn't referring to you at all.
I'm glad to hear that, because my questions of the judge were, and I never got an answer, did she agree or disagree with the recommendations?
Senator, I was not referring to you at all. You've asked that question, and most nominees have given the same answer as these nominees, but it's your right to ask that question. And so I was referring to this so-called report involving the Supreme Court.
I was too. And if you have a second round, I'm going to ask it again.
Well, there's no plan.
Does the judge agree or disagree with the recommendations?
Senator,
I'm not really interested in how many lawyers can dance on the head of a pin.
Senator,
I'm just interested in hearing whether the judge agrees or disagrees.
Senator, you're doing the same thing that we've done when the tables were turned. Try to get these nominees to say what their personal views are, and most of them think it through and believe that they can't do that, and it makes them sound as if they don't have a personal
Well,
view.
Mr. Chairman, I think that's the purpose of the Judiciary Committee.
Well, you're entitled to your opinion.
Let me just finish my thought. I'm entitled to my opinion. I mean, we're confirming these nominees for lifetime appointments. They're not elected. You don't think it's relevant what they believe?
I think you create a problem for them that jeopardizes their role as judges.
When I just ask them what they believe?
May I finish my thought?
Certainly, I apologize.
Okay, thank you very much. I think that they understand that if they start expressing their personal views, as Ms. Chung has said repeatedly, it's a forecast of the future, and they're trying their best to say law, facts, precedent, and stick with it. And I think that's what we expect of judges.
Well, I just disagree, Mr. Chairman. I think people's personal beliefs, have they thought about the world? Have they thought about the issues that are central to American democracy? I think that's perfectly appropriate. I'm surprised that no, and this isn't meant to be personal, but that you haven't directed them, the witnesses to answer our questions.
We asked the same question to Trump nominees and got the same response. This is a predictable course of action on this committee. We try to probe as deeply as we can, and witnesses don't always go along with the extent of our probe.
Well, recently, they never do.
Well, under Trump's nominees, they never did either.
Well, I questioned them too, as you recall.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, can I just, since I think that last back and forth was directed implicitly at me, I think you factually misstated the record, though, and maybe I'm wrong.
Let's get this straight, because I.
Well, can I just, yeah,
Sure.
so here's, I think, maybe I'm wrong about this. I thought that the justice was the co-chair of this Diversity Strategic Planning Steering Committee, and that entity issued a report to the Delaware Supreme Court. You said that some group made recommendations to the justice. I don't think that's right. I think she co-chaired a committee that made recommendations to the Delaware Supreme Court, and her testimony's been the Supreme Court hasn't acted on those recommendations.
Let her respond.
Sure.
It is correct that I'm the co-chair of the committee that made the recommendations, but what I was trying to clarify is that there's a subgroup, there are 5 subgroups that made recommendations. During those deliberations, the co-chairs, myself and the Chief Justice, did not make recommendations. We did not identify specific recommendations for people. We didn't strike down recommendations for people. We didn't say, yes, we like those, no, we don't like the other ones. We allowed the subcommittees to create their own recommendations. We didn't change the recommendations at all as they went into the report. And those recommendations went in as is to the Supreme Court. And as the entire Supreme Court, our analysis as the Chief Justice and myself would be with the rest of the Supreme Court.
Understood. My only point, Mr. Chairman, is, and I think what I heard Senator Cruz's question. I can't speak for him. I'll just speak for myself. My point is that the justice co-chaired the panel. I think it's reasonable to ask her about the content of the report that they made. And if she doesn't want to answer the questions per your exchange with Senator Kennedy, that's fine.
Suggestion she's dodging the question. How much more explicit can she be? The presumption seems to be that she wrote the recommendations, and it's clear she did not. She said it repeatedly, and you won't accept it. That's just a fact. And so it is an unusual situation, but best I can determine, she gathered the information and passed it along without a vote of approval or without any scrutiny on her person.
But, Mr. Chairman, I just respectfully disagree. I don't think, that's not what I asked the witness. I asked her, does she agree or disagree with the recommendations?
Well,
Forget the report.
That's another question, Senator.
But I never got an answer.
Oh, and I don't think you would from a Trump nominee either.
But we don't have Trump. I pressed a lot of Trump nominees, as you well know, and voted against a bunch of them. And they helped kill 4 or 5 that I didn't think were qualified. But I don't agree with your revisionist history, no disrespect, in the last 10 minutes. I asked the witness 4 or 5 times, do you agree or disagree? And I didn't get an answer. Now, you can call that dodging the question. If you want to, that's a little pejorative to me, but I never got an answer, and I don't think that's inappropriate for me to ask. That's the issue.
Senator, by virtue of your position on the committee, you're entitled to ask what you wish, and I'm glad you had that chance.